All right, everybody. We are live. Welcome to another Shimano School. My name is JP DeRose, and tonight, obviously, we are joined by some musky guys that I met a couple years ago. We got Tauchen and Robbie Jarnigo joining us from Today's Angler. These guys are guides out in Wisconsin. They have been doing this 35 years now for you, bud?
But it depends. Guiding, probably 27, 26. Somewhere in there.
Long time. So lots of experience in the room tonight. So folks, a bunch of you are jumping in already. There's like 40 of you online. We have people from both our YouTube channel on Shimano and our Facebook channel. You have the opportunity to ask these guys all the questions you want. We're going to try to get to all of them tonight. We've got a bunch of options for you tonight. We're going to talk muskies, whether it's in the Midwest or in Ontario. We'll do a bunch of stuff for you. And then also, if you have gear questions or anything like that, these are the guys. I mean, from lures to baits to rods to reels. This is a great opportunity, especially with muskie just opening this weekend in Ontario and it really being prime season for you guys outside of the fall. It's kind of now and fall for the muskie lovers. So if you guys can do me a favor.
Right. Especially with the 90 degrees that we've had. It's kind of like midsummer right now.
That's what Lee was telling me beforehand. You said it's like crazy hot. But guys, do me a favor. Jump on there and let us know where you're checking in from. We love to see where everybody is. Sarah, hi. Sarah says hi to Lee and Robbie. Old musky guy from your YouTube channel is saying, hey, boys. So, folks, just in the comment section, let us know where you're checking in from. This will give us a bit of time to let people roll in. Moose, one of my good buddies up here, Moose, who is from Ontario Fishing Community, just jumped in. He's saying, what's happening, boys?
Yeah. I don't know what's happening.
It's hot.
It's hot. That's what I do know. Oh, it's been miserable on the lakes. That's all I got to say.
I don't know if I've ever heard Wisconsin anglers complain that it's too hot.
I know. It's bad. Yeah, this has been a pretty intense heat wave coming up here.
But there you go. We got guys checking in. Doug from New Jersey. We got Robert on our YouTube channel checking in from the Twin Cities. Old musky guys checking in from Rhinelander, Wisconsin. We got Fort Lauderdale.
Hey.
Benny.
I think I remember that,
dude.
Yep, Benny Ortiz, one of our Shimano slow pitch jigging masters. I did a live with him a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
We got Northern Wisconsin checking in, Jersey as well. The beautiful thing, guys, let's talk a little bit about muskie here. Muskie are available. It's pretty wide now, the availability of species. So where do you guys see the most focus on muskie in the U.S. and in Canada?
Minnesota's pretty amazing. Wisconsin obviously is, cool, but not as big as, as Minnesota, Ontario, and all of that for trophy class fish. But what's really amazing is the southern fisheries right now. They're kicking out some absolute giants, and they're pretty young fisheries like right now. So Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia. I mean, it's
Indiana as well.
Indiana. Yeah. It's insane. It really is. Ohio has giants. I mean, it's pretty incredible how big the range is.
Yeah. Awesome. And do you think that those southern fisheries the fish are starting to adapt, but they get a longer growing season? Do you think that gives them potential to get those big fish?
From what I've known, it's actually a natural strain that there used to be some, but man, like some of those fisheries, they stay cold. It's not so hot, kind of like Melton Hill. Fish, they adapt to it, and it's perfect. Yeah.
Trout water.
Southern
trout water.
Yep. So impoundments, deep water, cold water,
a lot of current. So that keeps a lot of oxygen and whatnot. So that keeps them good. Yeah.
And do you find those end up giving you like more of a pelagic group of muskies where they're out suspending a lot, or are they structure oriented like they are kind of up in the north?
That's hard.
Especially when shad are involved.
Yes.
then they really get to be that way.
Right.
For sure.
Right. But
awesome. All right. So we got people checking in from where do we got here? Minnesota, Pepin, Wisconsin. Moose is excited. He says this is going to be epic. Northern Wisconsin, Fort Lauderdale, obviously, is Benny. And this one here saying, Richard saying he netted Lee's 56 years ago in Minnesota. Great experience.
On the Boilermaker.
Yeah, that was my first fish. Personally, on my Boilermaker lure was a 56-incher. Richard, thank you. That was a memory of many lifetimes.
Oh, oh my gosh, that was so
awesome.
Cool.
That's awesome. All right, so Dodgeville, obviously, Wisconsin. So, boys, let's talk about what you guys are up to and introduce people to you. Like I said, I met you guys, I believe it was 2 years ago at the Shimano Pro Staff Summit. It was my first experience running into you guys. I knew about you from your YouTube channel. You guys have a great social media presence, always educating people, which I really, really like, whether it's about patterns or new lures. So give us a breakdown. Who wants to take it? Robbie, Lee, who's going to take it? Tell us all about today's angler and what you guys are about.
You can jump at this, Lee.
Well, basically, we just, since I was 10 years old, it was my dream to take education and entertainment in a media format. And of course, that was writing and seminars and being a guest on Linder's Angling Edge back in the day. So that's really where it began for me. That was my dream, was to do television. And of course, television is now YouTube. So here we are, and was lucky enough, fortunate enough to meet Robbie along the way, who was able to bring me into that next level of keeping me up with the kids and seeing that YouTube was the way to do it. And here we are. I mean, who would have thought we would grow this over 50,000 subscribers of musky fishing? And what's cool about it is we're able to teach so many new people, introduce so many new people into the sport. That's really, the more we do that, the bigger it's going to get, the more fish that are going to get stocked into more waters. And that's really the bottom line.
All right. So for those of you tuning in, again, welcome. My name is JP DeRose. We are here with today's angler, Lee Tauchen and Robbie Jarnigo. Sorry, Robbie.
It's all good. I've had this happen all my life. So it's all good.
I'm Canadian. I say a lot, so you got to excuse me. But...
Oh, yeah.
And so we're talking today about muskie and toothy critters in general. I mean, the pike can fall under. If you got questions about pike, I'm sure these guys have a fairly decent idea. But let's start with muskie in general, a little bit of background on them for those who aren't very familiar with them. Growing up, I heard one thing: the fish of 10,000 casts. Is that still true?
Are.
Is it still true?
A lot of times they certainly seem that way. Especially I moved up to the northern Wisconsin area this last year, and there's not as many fish up here as our Madison systems where I grew up in. And it can be a struggle. I mean, it can literally be a struggle. I mean, seeing one fish one day and that's it, or not see any at all. It's definitely been a grind, learning new water. But it's been fun because it's all new to me. So I don't know. They're a pain in my butt. So I do know.
Yeah, but it's an addiction. It seems like from what I've experienced with muskie anglers, when you're a muskie angler, everything else is bait.
I know.
It's bad. I don't know what it is.
I love smallmouth fishing, but yeah.
Because nothing else makes you shake, because the man hours you put in to catch that one stupid green fish, and then it finally happens, and it's all worth it. So
it is wild.
On the other side of the coin, like Robbie talked about, putting in the mega hours, we're lucky enough to have some stocked fisheries too that, are supplemented by, putting more fish in, and you could actually catch 10 fish in a day. We had a summer day 2 or 3 years ago we had 12 fish day, all on surface baits, right in the downtown shadow of the state capitol in Madison here.
Wild.
Actually, that video is, I think it's the homepage video on your YouTube channel. You guys caught those 12 fish. So
that was insane.
We got a few people checking in here. This is great to hear. Richard saying Lee and Robbie have videotaped the Capital City Muskies Youth Tournament, helping promote muskie fishing to young ones. Thanks for that. Again, important, right? We're trying to grow the sport. That's kind of what we all do. That's really why here at Shimano we do these lives, is to educate our impassioned anglers from all over the country. We talk about everything. Muskie this week, last week slow pitch jig, last week was stripers with Captain Jack Springle. Next week I think we're going, or 2 weeks from now, we're going to be doing flats class. So we got a bunch of stuff to talk about. So today is all about muskie. So folks, thank you for checking in again, guys from Central Illinois, Northern Illinois, Walker, Minnesota. We got people from all over. Do me a favor, if you can, hit the share button. That helps us get the word out. And then we're going to welcome everybody from both Facebook and YouTube. These lives stay on our page, so you're going to be able to watch them after. What I always tell people is, as summer comes in, it gets darker later and later. We find people are out fishing longer and longer. So they may miss these videos, especially, walleye and muskie guys, where that low light period is so important. They don't get off the water until it's dark out.
Oh, yeah.
So if you feel like there's someone who would benefit from this talk that we're going to do tonight, tag them in the comment section. That's going to put it right in their box for them. They're going to be able to watch that whenever they want. So that's another one. Here's another Southern Wisconsin. Brian, hope you guys are doing well. Northeastern Ohio, Central Illinois. People are coming everywhere. So let's take our first question. Noah's got one from our Facebook page. He said he's driving 18 hours to Lake Macagon from Denver.
Namacagon, baby.
That is a hardcore muskie dude. All right. Any advice, boys?
Well, I live about 18 minutes from that lake.
All right. It's all yours.
I was out yesterday, and it was brutally hot. No wind. Pretty amazing that we even had any action. I lost one muskie. It was probably low 30s. And it was on Lee's little Death Paws minnow, which is, what is that, Lee? A 5-inch jerkbait? 5.5-inch jerkbait, super small. This heat really did help. Earlier this week, we heard of a 49 caught in a 50 1/4. So big fish are definitely still shallow. But so you're saying this weekend? It looks like we got a front coming in on Friday, which will cool it down for a little bit. I think Saturday and Sunday should be good. Just the cabbage is so nice right now. The water's clear, the clearest I've ever seen it.
Wow.
Basically any piece of structure you see on the GPS has awesome cabbage on it, and it looks so good. So I would focus on wind-blown stuff. It seems like that's been it's been a south wind, so the north side of the lake has seemed to be more fish over there. That's where I was marking them and whatnot. So I don't know. It's a hard body of water, but there's big fish to be caught there.
Well, Noah, hopefully that helps you and makes you more excited for your 18-hour drive. Man, that is dedication right there.
That's a long one.
Yeah, 18 hours. I've done the 18-hour hauls. It's usually to go pick up a new boat or something. So you're coming back smiling the whole way. So hopefully he catches something and has a whole bunch of reasons to smile the whole way back home. Here's one from Moose, and he's saying, let's talk about the Muskie Spawn since it just happened for us in Ontario. So our season in Ontario is fairly protected. They're very good at protecting these fish up here. We protect all of our species have off limit seasons. And is it the same in Wisconsin for you guys?
For the most part, yep. Yeah,
Northern
Wisconsin for sure. Yeah,
our season opened this past weekend, which traditionally this time of year water temperatures should be in the 60s. Let's talk about the spawn. What does muskies do? When do they start spawning?
Basically 50 degrees, 50 to 55, that range. And you're going to want to focus on areas of current. That's probably the number one thing. Muskies are river fish by nature. So concentrating on inlets, outlets, dams. If anyone's shore fishing out there, go to your local dam and go cast some rubber or something at a dam, and you're probably going to run into a muskie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like those current fish definitely like to bite. I mean, you'll get in those shallow bays where it looks like, good spawning, musky area, but they can be such a pain in the butt though.
Are those the fickle ones? The ones that are
for the most part
on those dark bottoms in those shallow bays?
Right.
They like to swim around.
Right.
They just swim.
They like to mess with your mind. You'll see big ones, but it's hard to get them to bite.
Well, there's a tip for everybody in Ontario. Find the current.
Night fishing. If you can night fish on those shallow bays, that I know in southern Wisconsin, some of the guys have been doing that. And also one thing we should say, bust out your wire leader and act like you're walleye trolling. That's something that I'm sure that people in Ontario have not been, trying, using small cranks and, act like you're walleye fishing. Yep.
Small.
So I could only imagine what could happen up there with doing that.
Well, we do see a lot of guys troll. Now, I'm not going to say they all troll small walleye baits and everybody should know. I mean, geez, the Canadian record, if not it was caught on a number 8 Rapala.
Sure.
While walleye fishing, right? A 65 pounder.
Exactly.
But it's not uncommon. And I can tell you how many I've caught fishing for smallmouth or largemouth or walleye at any given time. You always run into muskie. But the trolling thing I see a lot of here, but it's the guys with the rods bent down in the rod holders, giving her 4 or 5 knots and they're pulling big baits. So you're saying downsize is
like
a good option.
Downsize and 1.8 to 2. Lee and I were just in Indiana. We trolled for what, 15 minutes, Lee, and hooked that big one on your Death Riot or Death Pause minnow. I mean, it's definitely a factor. I know. I don't. What are water temps right now for you guys for the most part?
They hit 70 when we had a real bad hot spell, and then typical of Ontario, we had like highs of or lows of 30s, low 30s for like 4 days, and we actually had flurries after like having 72-degree water, and now it dropped to 60, but it's on its way back up. But temperatures really for the next week and a half to 2 weeks are going to be in the mid to high 70s to high 60s. So it's kind of perfect.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. Any bug hatches happening? Because that can be a really
so we had hatches on the lakes that have them. We have had some hatches. The black flies are out now. The mayflies we haven't seen many up here yet, but yeah, the black flies are the big ones right now. And the mosquitoes were just intolerable at certain points.
Yeah, that's not good.
If you get those bug hatches, I'm sure Robbie was just going to hit on this.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Some of the smaller basins within bigger bodies of water seem to be a good focus area where you get those first big bug hatches in the smaller basins. And obviously the muskies are going to follow the food out there to where the bugs are, and you can get a suspended bite that way.
Interesting. All right. Some good information coming up here. Here's one here from Justin. He's saying, Lee, I'd really like to hear you talk about current seams, like what you look for and maybe boat positioning.
This is probably one of the most misunderstood things about fishing, and it's something that Robbie and I look at basically every minute we're out fishing. And it comes down to, let's pretend you were river fishing, you'd be able to read the currents of the river quite easy because you'll get foam and areas of current and no current, and you'll get edges and eddies. Well, you'll actually get the same kind of thing within a lake when you get prolonged wind from one particular direction, and you'll look for, like on our lakes here, Madison, we get a lot of floating weeds, and you'll see where there'll be groups of floating weeds kind of going down and following current seams. And it just has to do with what direction the wind is blowing. You'll get little bubbles and foam and stuff like that. So you're really kind of visually paying attention to what, reading the surface of the water. And it's when I really got onto this was back when I would watch the carp feeding off the surface. Their little mouths are coming up, feeding on the surface, and there would be muskies right in with those carp, and it all was associated with wind current seams that you can visually see with your eyes. And bodies of water like St. Clair and Lake of the Woods, especially the bigger bodies of water, it's a little more evident, but it happens in very small 100-acre lakes as well. So really pay attention visually to looking for those current seams and such.
So he asked about boat positioning. Now, this is something we pay attention to a lot when we're smallmouth sight fishing. Are you wind to your back, long bomb casting, or are you
usually drifting if possible?
Sorry?
Yeah, usually drifting. If we have good enough wind to drift, we will drift those seams and correct the boat perfectly to stay with our casts all within that foam line, so to speak.
Well, the nice thing with drifting, especially with multiple people in the boat, you can have one person in the front of the boat throwing something a little bit deeper, and somebody in the middle throwing it something mid-range, and then you got some guy in the back who's throwing something shallow up on the weeds, which seems to be a nice way to cover a lot of the area.
All right, here's another question. Doug is asking, so do you guys prefer mono or wire? Now, we hear a lot about fluoro leaders for musky fishing. I hear a lot of misinformation. Drives me actually absolutely out of my tree when I hear guys saying, oh, you can get away with 40 or 50 pound fluoro for musky. No, I always tell people 80 at a bare minimum, but over 100 preferably, and get some good crimps and some good hardware to go with it. But what's your preference?
Yeah, we use primarily fluoro, 130 pound fluorocarbon. Definitely doesn't hurt to use wire as well. You just got to make sure you keep a close eye on it, whether you get any kinks or whatnot, and then you'll of course have to replace from there. Wire is the foolproof. It's not going to get cut. Fluorocarbon, I've seen 130 pound fluorocarbon cut probably 3 times in my entire life, so not very often.
All right. And so let's talk a little bit about the components, because
sure,
I know the baits aren't cheap. You guys are not.
Right.
I know bass baits aren't cheap anymore,
No.
but there are cheaper versions. But the musky stuff, I mean, it gets insane.
Right.
When you start lobbing $50 bills or $100 bills out into the water all the time. How important are the components on your leaders? Like, what are you guys looking for?
Yeah, I mean, we tie our own. Gosh, what brand is those swivels that you always give me, Lee? They're just ball bearing, what, 200 pound, I believe?
Yeah, 175, 200 pound ball bearing swivels.
Yep.
And then
the stay lock, probably.
Basically, yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And the snaps are what? The Stringies? Is that the Canadian brand?
Yeah, it is. Yep. Stringies brand stay locks. And for a little bit there, Mustad made some that were supposedly like it, but they were really soft. And just make sure they have a really high spring, to the metal material, that they are hard to open. They need to be hard to open.
Yep. And one thing we always look for is when our stay lock snaps or whatever become, they lose that paint. You can definitely feel they get shiny. You can feel that like they're not as strong as they used to be, and we'll always switch them out. And it's really nice because you can literally, off the knot of your leader, you can pop it out and put a new one on, and it's no problems. So it's just something to look at. Like when you have a shiny snap, just be cautious. Yeah. That can be a miserable thing.
Especially for all you lure washers out there.
Yep.
Yes. There you go, Doug. Hopefully that helps you out a bit. All right. So here's one from Kelly. Kelly's asking, what patterns and structures should I be looking for in northern Wisconsin going in 5 days? I know you mentioned windblown shores and the north side of the shore. Does the same thing apply no matter where you are in Wisconsin right now?
For the most part, I love windy days in northern Wisconsin. It's I've been up here for 1 year. I don't know, crazy amount, but just for my personal experience, windy days, hitting that windblown shoreline. The weeds right now it's like we're in first week of July right now. It's incredible. I mean, everything's up. It's like your summertime fishing. We heard of some big fish being caught on topwater. There's one caught on a pounder bulldog. I mean, it's every bait. I thought I would be going into this week like, all right, we have to, throw springtime baits, but it doesn't seem that way. We heard of fish being moved on, 10-9 bucktails. Any bait in your box right now is, you don't have to worry about the whole springtime deal, throwing small lures. But if it gets hard and you're not seeing fish, it never hurts to throw something small like a single 8 bucktail or, a little jerk bait. So that's what we've been seeing anyways.
And for structures, do you have similar structure to what we probably see here? So you have obviously you get your shoals and your humps and rock to weed transitions or rock to sand transitions is kind of same thing.
Probably one of the differences, we don't get that shield rock. Any rock bars, for the most part, will have weeds on the edges of them. Cabbage sitting 8 feet of water, which is, I mean, what's nice about, that cabbage is I just love using a crankbait where you can hit it and your bait's working in those, 8 foot of cabbage slower than a bucktail. I don't know. That's just kind of where my confidence lies, is really, keeping your bait in that strike zone for as long as possible.
Weeds are tough to beat for the next month.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's the same up here, guys. It really is. I mean, it's here the reason we find it is because the perch are just done spawning, so they're in the weeds, and the walleye are just done spawning, and they're pulling back to those first available, cabbage being the first thing up here that grows, and then the milfoil beds. So I mean, if you're not in the weeds, you're not in near the bait. So,
our bluegills are just getting on beds real shallow right now in the next couple of days. So ultra shallow in that, that sand weed transition is definitely a good option as well.
All right, Kelly, hopefully that helps you out. All right. So Charlene is from Ontario. She's asking, what temps are you talking about for going slower?
Like late season, basically anything under 55 would be kind of a good rule of thumb for fishing slower.
Or when the bite sucks.
Yeah.
Then generally speaking,
right? You got to change it up.
Yeah, right. If they're not moving on a bulging bucktail all day, it might be a wise choice to slow down a little bit and, stay in that strike zone a little bit longer.
Do you guys find that regardless of whether you're trolling or casting, are you always changing that speed of retrieve to see what's triggering the follow? Is there always that in your head, or are you guys, I know I got to bulge this all the time, so that's what I'm doing repeatedly?
No, not at all. No, that's not how we fish for the most part. We definitely change up the speed within the cast, try to get the fish to bite out there. That's one thing I learned from Lee, like watching poolside demonstrations that he would do back when I was, 14, 13. And that's something he's definitely got me sold on. So I don't know. Yeah, it seems to be a confidence thing for sure. Like on bucktail fishing, giving it a quick reel pump or a change of direction, 50 feet away, instead of dealing with them at the boat.
You could still be fishing it slow, yet doing something, different, some kind of reactionary thing within a slower retrieve to try to trigger that bite. So
yeah, and you're looking, yeah, exactly. It's a trigger. It's no different than what we do in bass fishing. It's no different what people do in any, really. It's kind of funny because I know you guys jumped a little bit in, then you put your foot in the saltwater world. When I first met you, you did a little bit of surf casting, and you probably find the more you guys expand outside of what you do, is fishing.
Right.
I mean, triggering a fish is triggering a fish, whether it's a saltwater flats fish or it's a muskie in a freshwater lake or it's a smallmouth on a flat. You got to do you got to figure out what they want that given day.
So any water temps, it's always going to vary regardless of water temperature.
All right, so there you go, Charlene. So regardless, obviously try them quick, try them slow, but definitely slow down when the water temperatures drop into those low 50s and below. Slowing down could be a good ticket. All right, Peter's from Waterloo checking in. Hey, Peter, how you doing? All right. Okay, here's one here. James, this is your area, central Wisconsin. Since the Northern Opener, he's won for about 10. A lot of nipping baits and turning away. So can you give this guy some advice to give him some good luck, boys?
Send some luck my way.
Yeah,
I just dumped 2 giants a week ago.
Yeah, I lost one yesterday. I don't know. You just got to keep chucking, really. I mean, keep your hook sharp, but I'm sure you're already doing that. It's just it's the game. It's just the game. It's musky fishing. You can dump 10 and then, catch the next 10. It's the weirdest fish.
It's definitely a trait for springtime fishing because they're on the post spawn. They're not what we call muskies yet. They have not turned into their just kill everything mentality like they are in the summertime. So it's just going to happen. But just pay one thing we could tell you that has worked really well for us, and it's actually how I missed a real big one about a week ago or so. Was stopping that bait when you get it close to the boat and really looking and giving that bait an extra 2, 3, 4 count pause before you get it up to do your figure of 8, and fish will just show up late. So that's one thing you can kind of do. Spring fish, very common to have late follows. So.
All right, James, hopefully that helps you out a bit there, bud. This one's going to be Lee. You do a lot of this stuff, and I know Robbie's right there with you. But when you're testing new lures, how do you know when a lure is working and how to improve them, especially given muskies are such a low percentage fish at times? It's a good question.
Well, fish them on bodies of water that have lots of fish.
Yeah, just get
more data.
Feel, right?
But seriously, how do I know when it's working? I guess. Lures, sometimes you just put a lure in the water and you see the way it swims and you just know that it's going to attract fish. But it's one thing to attract a fish. It's a whole nother thing to get them to bite. And I don't know what,
what is the magic ticket? Yeah.
Okay. I guess probably the best thing I could tell you is that any lure will attract a fish, some lures more than others. But to actually get a fish to bite it, so much of getting more bites than possibly other anglers is incorporating some kind of little different action, whether it's with the rod tip or the reel handle, that makes that bait do one little different thing that gets them to actually strike the bait. Like we were using my Death Paws minnow down in Indiana here a couple of weeks ago or whatever, and just using that reel handle to get that twitch bait to go side to side and pause and pop and different direction changes. Anyone can just throw out a bucktail and reel it in and you're going to catch a fish. But as soon as you maybe add like 3 rod pumps to that entire retrieve. Don't do it all the time, because then it's not different. So just incorporating one little different thing a couple, 2-3 times a retrieve is a lot of it. And I know I'm kind of going off on not really exactly the question, but any lure will attract a fish. You got to get them to bite it, and that's just the little thing.
They'll bite anything.
Yeah, we caught them on Barbie dolls.
Right, they're the stupidest fish in the lake.
Yeah, until you go a month without catching one, then you're like, my God, I can't believe I'm getting beat up by this fish. So I guess with lures, just like what we deal with in the bass world or in the saltwater world, there's specific actions that you know are good. So whether it's a wide wobble, a tight wobble, a twitch pause, the way the belly rolls, it's kind of what you look for, isn't it, Lee? When you got specific mindset of an action that there's different actions that trigger fish. Right. Probably when you build your baits, you don't build everyone to run the exact same way.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Top water, we do a lot of really slow stuff. And that's something that we've done that a lot of people struggle with. Fishing slow for muskie is really, it's almost taboo in some ways, but it has been extremely effective for us. So,
especially pressure water. It's weird.
Yeah.
When there's a lot of, it's just crazy. They've seen some bucktails in these days.
Right.
Yes. All right. So this one's from our YouTube channel. Master Baston's asking, he's been fishing some local lakes in Nebraska for tigers and regular muskie, some small little lakes. What do you recommend around this time? So same idea of what you guys are doing in Wisconsin. I mean, are your choices finite no matter where you are fishing muskie? For the most part, but I've talked to some guys, tiger fishing. It seems like a lot of small baits really get it done. They're very common on those lakes where it's only tigers as the top, predator. It seems like small baits, and it's usually clear water. I don't know if that's what he's fishing, but small baits, small little twitch baits is what.
Twitch baits, small rubber.
Do it, yeah.
Mini micro medusas, stuff like that.
Yep. It's generally small. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Spinner baits.
And for those who don't know, obviously tiger muskie being a breed between a northern pike and a muskie, is that the correct thing, or have they become their own species?
That's correct.
Yeah, no, that's correct. Yeah. It happens naturally and man-made both.
Okay. And
I wish we had more of them.
Tigers are a little smaller by nature than regular muskie.
Yeah, but they can be giant though. Right. They can just as big. It's wild.
They are beautiful.
They are insane. Yeah.
All right. So Casey from our Facebook channel has a question. What's your stance on bait color, stained water versus clear water, and cloudy versus sunny days?
Robbie,
you got this one?
Well, I mean, the color's never been like any of our, that not a confidence thing. We just throw out a lure and don't worry about it. I mean, color is such a, I don't know. It's last on our list of what, that we worry about in a given day. But moving up to the Northwoods, though, since you get less feedback instead of like the Madison areas and whatnot, I don't know. I like gold, stained water, clear water, bright colors. Cloudy generally is the, painted blades, but does it really matter? I don't know. I doubt it, in my opinion. I don't know.
I make lures for a living, and I could tell you it's this color on this color day on this lake, and so
whatever
on and so
you
forth.
Want, whatever what in your heart that day says, "Well, this looks good today. I like it." I'm sure the muskies feel the same exact way. As long as you're confident with it, fish it. I don't know. We make it really
number
easy.
One.
I don't disagree with you guys one bit. I believe the best bait in your box is the one you're the most confident in.
Yep.
Yes.
I think you fish it the best. You pay the most attention to it.
The last one that caught a muskie is always what we say.
Yeah, I agree. I think colors are for fishermen. Bait action, profile, and size is for the fish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's definitely last on our stuff.
Yeah. For me, when I pick baits, it's profile is number one, and then size is number two, and number three is always color.
Yep.
In that order.
Speed, I think, is top. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Your cadence, obviously, your cadence will trigger more fish than the color will.
Right.
I think if you get the cadence right with the right size bait, that's the right
right.
you know, profile, it doesn't matter what color it is. It could be pink, it could be green, it can be anything.
Exactly.
Don't stress out about color. Okay, promise me that.
It'll save you a lot of money.
There you go, Casey. Hopefully that one helps you.
Yep.
Okay, so Junior Post from Facebook. I bought 2 Death Paws and 1 Death Rise, and he absolutely loves them. So explain to me, Death Paws, Death Rise.
I recently came out with a 5.5-inch cedar wood, hand-weighted, tank-tested jerkbait, suspending jerkbait. And I have the suspending version and the rising version. Obviously, it floats slower, but basically it's the same size as a husky jerk, a size, you know, 14 husky jerk. A little bit taller, but based on a flat-sided bait with the outline or shape of a mega bass. And this thing has been lights out for so many people. I wish I had about 5,000 of them right now, but unfortunately it takes about 2 weeks to make 250 of them. So wow. I can't make them fast enough, unfortunately. But yeah, thank you very much for that. I've had a lot of reports, a lot of great reports from guys that are doing quite well with it. So very exciting to actually have a lure that is considered could be in the bass market. So
yeah, no, it's cool. I just fished it for better half the day yesterday, the Death Rise, and the way you can work that thing through cabbage is so cool. I mean, you take it, you just kind of give it a little tap, that thing will just kind of float, and you can work it so slow. And it's I caught probably 20 pike on it and 3 walleyes on it as well during the day. So I mean, that's a cool thing. You get action all day because it's for every kind of fish, really.
I'll have to send you one, JP.
All right.
Yeah, you might like that thing.
I love new stuff. That's for sure.
It'll be a smallie slayer, and it's a 1-ounce bait, so you can throw it on.
Oh, you can throw that. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I could throw it on. See, that's the problem. When we want to get distance out of our jerk baits, which like a re-range is traditionally like 3/8 and up to half an ounce.
Right.
To get my distance in the super clear water up here, I'm forced to go to spinning with like 10-pound Power Pro so that I can get that long ball and cast. But if I got something that's an ounce, I can get away with doing it on casting gear and just drag them to the boat, which is
like it's like throwing a daredevil.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right. So John A from our YouTube channel. And again, folks, before we get to this question, I'd like to welcome everybody to another Shimano School. This is a number 4 since we've come back, I believe. We do this every other week here on both our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. And these videos will live here for eternity, most likely. But tonight, we've got the guys from Today's Angler here. We got Lee and Robbie with us. We are taking questions. If you could do us a favor and hit the share button, it's right on the bottom corner there. It'd be great. Helps us get it out. And if you got a buddy who might be still out there slinging some baits around for some muskie right now, tag them in the comment section. It's a great way to get them to see this. This will be living on both pages, and you guys will have access to it as always. So John A from YouTube. John, hope you're doing well. He's asking casting versus spinning sizes, etc. So spinning's come a long way. I mean,
yeah,
it's almost taking over the saltwater world in a lot of regards. Places where conventional big 50 wides and 80 wides used to dominate, we're starting to see, 20, 25,000 and 30,000 size spinning reels from Shimano fill that gap. And the biggest thing for most people, left and right-handed. Right. So you should change that. So now casting has also changed a lot over the years from the traditional beer cans. So what's your take? I know you guys are probably casting crazy, but what's your take on spinning reels for the newbie, someone who may not be comfortable, with a big casting combo?
Well, definitely for the downsizing of baits, like we talked about, baits that are, say, roughly 1.25 ounces and less. Spinning is a terrific option for that. And we show this in, lots of our videos. We run a Corrado 7'1", medium heavy spinning with the 2500 Stratix with 20-pound braid. And of course, a small wire leader on the front of that, downsized 20-pound wire leader on that. And that's a great way to start out. Most of the muskies you catch, we catch anyway, are, 35 to 45 inches with some 50s, but you can land it on that heavy gear. I know, Robbie, you landed that 45 plus pound Lake St. Clair fish.
Yeah, that was incredible on the what was that? Corrado 200K and what was that? 7.6 medium heavy flipping rod or heavy flipping rod.
That's perfect combo for that.
I was jigging a ounce head jig with a tube on it, and that was a hell of a fight. It was amazing. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I mean, the big thing is
for the downsized bait,
right?
Yeah,
but big thing on casting reels is, I know if you get into musky fishing and you never thrown a bait caster before, it's really not that hard to get used to them. I just had guys on the boat yesterday, first time ever throwing a bait caster, but the Shimano Trance. Especially one thing I will say is that Power Pro 80-pound V2, it does not get backlashes where you actually have to cut the line. It does not dig in deep, and it is really great for beginner musky fishermen because the backlashes are never that bad. I mean, I had some dandies today or yesterday, but they weren't bad at all. They really weren't. So it's just you just set that the spool tension a little bit higher. Maybe put another, brake on and you're ready to go. I mean, you can literally, I set the reels for new people, cast it out, watch your spool, hit it before before the lure hits the water, and it's good to go. It's pretty amazing.
You mentioned the Trance, right? So Trance is available, three sizes. There's a 300, a 400, and a 500. For all the lefties out there, there is Trance in 300 and 400, but not 500.
Yeah.
500 not available, and I hear it.
I know. I hear it. One day.
People, why is there no 501 Trance? But personally, I mean, I find the 400 to be the perfect all-around reel. Just because I find it so much more comfortable than the 500 because it's lower down with that drop-down gearbox. It sits lower on the rod. It's the reel that I use to fish down in Panama for rooster fish. And we've landed 65-pound Cubera snapper on that reel.
That's awesome.
So, really outside of the drag being, maybe at 18 pounds might be a little less than you want when you're chucking those big baits and hooking big fish.
I don't
know.
Really,
that's funny. The reel does a really good job at handling itself in a lot of situations. Is that the size you guys would say would be the perfect reel to do a bunch of stuff with?
For sure.
Yep.
Yeah, the big thing is the 500 Trance, for big bucktails, crazy. I mean, the torque on a Trance is the big 500 sizes. It's the best reel out in the market for that. And then obviously big rubber too. Big rubber late in the fall. That's definitely the last reel that's going to go on icing for sure. So
how much does the gear ratio make a difference for you guys? So there's two models, right? There's one that's going to bring in 30 inches of line per handle turn, and that's the standard 300 or 400. There's one that brings in 39, so 9 extra inches per handle turn. Are there specific baits that you guys say, I want the HG, the faster reel, and then there's specific baits you want the slower reel?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Slow topwater, we love the slow speed. It feels mentally, it's easier to do because you can turn the handle a little quicker. You feel like you're fishing faster, even though you're not. But if you were just to get one, I'd recommend the high speed personally. I think you would too.
I think 90% of the time I'm using that high gear, which is just, gosh, it is an awesome reel.
I like the handle better too, to be honest with you guys. I like that single power handle. It seems like it just makes things a little easier digging down on baits.
Yep. I do like the paddle handle on a slower one. I mean, obviously for top water, but even glide baits, I really like the paddle handle a little bit more than the power one.
Same.
So you guys talked a little bit about a spinning setup. You said a medium heavy Corrado rod, 2500 Stratic kind of thing.
Yep.
What sizes, if someone is like, I am not using bait casting, I want a spinning combo, what size are you guys going to? Like, what would you recommend for a spinning reel combo? Obviously a medium heavy or a heavy rod that it can hold those heavier lures, but for a reel?
It's hard
to say. Just get a bait caster. That's what I would say. Just get a bait
caster, I would say.
Not to...
Good. I started off that way. Yeah.
The reels are so good nowadays, and with the VBS brake system, and for those of you that are not familiar with the Trance reel, I'm sure you would be able, JP, to point out a video that would show the VBS brake system where you could finely tune a bait casting reel. There you go. You got one right there. Look at this guy. But
this is the Corrado 300, which also makes a great little musky reel. The Corrado K300, but that's our VBS system, and Basically, this one here has the pins that slide up and down on it, and I call them parachutes. When people ask me to explain a VBS system, I say it acts like little parachutes. You can click them in and lock them so they're off, or you can leave them where they flare up and down. And it's basically centrifugal force that drags them out at the speed of your cast, right? So I call them parachutes that save your bacon.
Yeah,
I like that.
So basically, if you're having problems starting out casting, just
of course.
I don't know, JP, if you can put that up to the lens, you can actually show how those brake weights, they can be on or off, and you can add more on, and that will actually slow down your spool speed. If you're not familiar, this is new to you. This is what will save you and allow you to learn bait casting equipment. Anything that you run an 80-pound braid and 4+ ounce lures, you're gonna want a bait casting outfit. I'm sorry. That's just,
so this is 3. Option. So the ones that are on are the ones that you can see the pin underneath. So this one right here, this is on. You can see how I could slide that up and down. The ones that are locked down are these ones here, and there's basically a little clip. So to turn them on, you basically just pull them out a little. If you were starting off and you've never thrown a bait caster, I would do this to it. So you can see all 6 are on. And then adjust your spool tension, which is, the little knob on the other side behind the drag right here. Adjust that so that you got a nice even rate of fall with your lure. And I'll guarantee you, as long as you don't spike it in the water directly in front of you, you probably can't backlash this reel.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. Yep.
And, every one of these breaks you take off, which means you clip them in, is going to add more distance to your cast. So as you get more comfortable and you think you can do more, click one in. And then start casting, and you'll notice you will get the VBS system is a very, very effective system for casting braking.
It really is foolproof.
Nailed it.
Yeah, it is foolproof.
And again, there's a ton of videos. There's a ton of videos on setting up bait casters out there. I know I've done them. You guys have probably done them. You talk about setting up bait casters. It's my one beef I have sometimes in this industry is people go to buy a bait caster. They go to the store. The store tells them what they feel is the best. But then they send them on their way without giving them a very basic tutorial on the parts that you need to know. And there's really only 3 things: spool tension, your drag, and then your braking system.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's easy.
It's not that hard. And don't spike it in front of your feet.
If my mom can do it and catch a muskie throwing a bait caster, I think anybody can do it.
There you go. So there you go, folks. Don't be afraid to try a bait caster, but have a spinning combo available for those lighter baits. So sub 1 ounce being the recommendation from the boys here. So John,
I know we spent a lot of time on that, but I think showing that feature, JP, was really important. And I think it just makes it so much easier starting out.
Yeah, for sure. And so let's go to another one here. We got Nathan asking, favorite lure color for tea-stained water. So I know you guys, we talked about lure color. And I'm of the firm belief that it's the one you're most confident in. But do you guys change up for tannic water?
Something with some chartreuse.
Yep, chartreuse and gold. Chartreuse's gold is my take on it. That's where my confidence lies on those kind of waters.
All right. Very, very clean and simple for you. That's a consensus there for you, Nathan. So hopefully that helps. Let's see where we're going. Okay, this is a good one. Hey, Sean, how you doing, bud? I know Sean's one of our northern anglers. From here in Ontario. Do you feel it's bad etiquette to fish for muskie when the water is super warm?
That's we could talk a whole hour about that, but basically it comes down to 80 degrees is kind of the PC cutoff point for not muskie fishing above 80. And it's really not quite that simple, but if you had to go rule of thumb, that's a fairly good one. Limiting your handling time is very important the warmer the water gets. And if you were to capture a muskie, they're going to tell you by the mood of their release whether or not that was too much stress for them. And I guess I've fished bodies of water that have been over 80, but they're very clear, deep, well-oxygenated waters that fish took off like it was 60-degree water.
Right.
So
just when you add wind, wind to the mix, it's 80 degrees with wind. I mean, it's pretty dang, good. Better. As long as there's flow. Yeah, it's better.
Yep.
Oxygen being the real key here. Now, I've also heard, and again, guys, trust me, I am not a muskie connoisseur by any stretch of the imagination. Actually, I can tell you for a fact, outside of one day of my life targeting muskie, every other muskie I've caught has been an accident. All right. So it's been on a bass bait or a walleye bait.
Yep.
But I know enough to know from reading, and I love to read articles and see videos about this stuff. The thing about muskie, undersizing your gear for the fish you're fishing and elongating the fight. How damaging is that to the fish?
Muskie are super sensitive to that.
Yeah.
They're wimps. For king of the lake, they're a huge wimp. So
explain to people what happens when you fight and that lactic acid builds up in that fish. What are we doing to that fish?
Well, it's not natural.
Right.
It's nothing natural about that. When they're eating a perch or whatever, you know, they don't have to experience that. But yeah, just stressful. Yeah, I don't know.
Another thing,
fins, like it looks like stressed out red tips on their fins.
Yep,
is that the telltale sign that you should take more time reviving them?
Yes, hemorrhaging, not staying upright or level. It's, you know, just limiting the photo time when that water gets above 75. I mean, you got to limit it anyway, but you know, sometimes we even don't do any photos when it's getting up in a calm day and the fish are kind of maybe struggling to get back. So we just really watch the mood of the fish.
All right. And so what's your typical, for those who may have a fish that they feel is in trouble when they go to release it and it's, you know, not staying upright or it's hemorrhaging? What are you guys doing? How is, you know, I've seen people shaking them back and forth. I've seen people put the boat in gear. I've seen people with tanks in their boat that they super oxygenate water to revive them. So what can people do to best protect the species?
I think it's probably best, in my opinion, to leave the fish basically stationary, holding it upright. If there's a chop on the water, releasing the fish on the calm side of the boat is very big. And that helps with their swim bladder and their equilibrium. See, I had one other thing on top of my head, and I lost it now. Robbie,
one thing
you got it?
I've learned back before muskies, I fished for pike. You know, you get a pike that didn't want to release back fast. We would actually put it in the live well and get fresh water going through it, and that did seem to be, you know, definitely effective to get them back going. But that's also, you know, you ride a weird line there because some waters are 50-inch size limits and you got a 42-incher in your live well.
43 in your box.
It's a screwy. Yeah, that can be screwy there, but I mean, it's not a bad thing. If that's last resort and that's what you got to do, it's not the worst case scenario.
If you can explain that to the warden saying I didn't want to let him go, he wasn't doing well, I wanted to take some time to revive him. Do you find that, have you guys ever iced down water to drop the temperature of the water to help them out a bit? We do that a lot with smallmouth.
Have not done that. No.
Have not done that.
Not been in that experience. No. Huh.
Because that's one
that's
that
interesting. Okay.
We deal with barrel trauma quite a bit because we catch the smallmouth so deep. And I know for a fact that ice, I've got guys who go out in tournaments and have 12 or 13 bags of ice.
Wow.
Really?
In their boat because they're going to keep adding it throughout the day because you know, you catch fish in deeper water. I don't know if anybody's ever scuba dove in a lake before. I'm a licensed diver. And I can tell you right now, once you get down about 10 feet down, it's a whole other world down there.
Right.
It is a lot colder. So that's part of the reason why if you're going to recuperate them rather than being on surface 80-degree water, you could bring that down and kind of give them a blast of fresh water.
And then get them down. Yeah, that's a great point. Who knows? That could be
might be something to try,
amazing,
guys, if you run out of options.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. That's
all
cool
right,
to know.
So let's see where we're going now. That was etiquette. So Sean, thanks for that question, bud. I appreciate it. Another note for your bait, super stick bait, put 3 in the bag for him already this year. So
nice.
There you go. All right. So Kelly's asking, I have a local lake in the Midwest with a lot of shad. How do you target them in a lake that has shad everywhere?
Open water game. I know in Indiana, it's pretty cool to see the guys out there. It's not like northern Wisconsin. I mean, like some guys do it, but it's not like our lakes in Wisconsin where you see boats just chucking baits out in the middle of the lake. They're very confident doing that because they have shad-based bodies of water in Indiana. And the open water game, just keep casting, blasting those pods of bait, especially if they're up high in that 10 foot of level. I mean, they'll bite a top water, they'll bite a bucktail in that situation. So that's one thing I would start off with. Just maybe first off is trolling, those shad in the basin, and then go to casting them once you get some icons. But yeah, definitely a good starting point for sure.
Yeah, drive around and look for them out there.
All right. Yeah, so Mark, have you guys used any of the new live imaging systems yet? Have you guys?
I will be in a couple weeks.
Can follow. So
right. No, they're I don't know what I think about that. It's
a debate. I mean, among anglers, it's become a fairly serious debate because
I know
it's guys are spending more on their electronics than their boats are worth in a lot of cases now.
Yeah.
And is it fishing still when you can?
I don't know. It's a hard.
I don't like it, but I'm not against it.
Right. It'll be interesting.
I don't want to know where that fish is. I don't know. I want to cast. I'm old school.
Yeah, I know. We'll see what it does in the next 10 years and see where we're lying here, but it is kind of crazy.
They're slowing down. I mean, I remember in 97, I got my first, or 97, no, 05. 05, I got my first side imaging unit.
Oh, no
and man, it opened my eyes. I was like, where I had one waypoint, there was 10 waypoints really there when you saw it on side imaging.
Sure.
And then DI came out, and now live, and everybody's coming out with a live unit now, so it's definitely growing.
We'll see. We'll see.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, so we got a few more. I got one before I answer some more questions. We've had a lot of people talk to us about, just finding fish. We got them tonight. People are like, hey, I'm going to a lake.
Yep.
Where do I concentrate? I'm going to give you guys a look at one of our popular areas.
Okay.
And I want you guys just kind of take a look at it. This is our Kawartha system here in Ontario.
Cool.
Again, for people who haven't come up here to fish muskies, hopefully when the borders open, people can experience it. I know that Jim Sarek comes up here to film shows. There's a bunch of guys, and we have the Ottawa River, which is a world-class fishery, and the St. Lawrence River, which everybody should know about.
Can we come?
Yep, giant guys, come on up. We got places for you. So I'm going to give you guys like a small lake. I don't want to pick something. We have Stony Lake here, which back in its day was what we would consider to be the prime musky lake back in like the 70s and 80s. That was the place everybody went. Tons of islands, deep water, 30, 50 feet.
That looks like the Eagle River chain.
Yeah, cabbage and, milfoil growth and granite rock. So, that Canadian Shield rock. When you're faced with something like this as an angler, what do you do? Where do you start?
It's so cool.
Right now, I kind of looked at that northwest region there.
It's been south winds for how long? It's insane. It's literally been south winds all. I mean, that's something to look at. Is like
you're talking up here, Robbie, where it narrows.
To the right of that, a little bit.
To the right of that, right in here.
Yep. The blue water, the shallows.
Yep.
There you go. Is that weed growth in there?
Yeah, that's all rock and super shallow, lily pads, slop mats, and then out here, you get your cabbage clumps and
cabbage clumps.
Yeah, that'd be all in this where you see kind of this stuff here where it's 7-8 feet of water. This is where you would get your cabbage growing first.
Yeah, I would say from where you just pointed, that center spot, to the east where it finally meets up with Main Lake, the northeast section. Yeah, there and north.
Yep,
right through there. Because you're going to get your south prevailing winds blowing that warm water up into that quadrant of the shallow water basin.
All right, now I'll give you guys an interesting spin here. So our lakes are all connected by lock systems.
Okay.
So you've basically got Buckhorn Lake or Lovesick Lake here dumping in through Burley Falls. So this is a river system. There's 1, 2, and 3 where this entire water system dumps into this lake and it flows this way, going out on the other end.
Sure.
You guys mentioned current in the beginning. So you've got a river section basically up here.
Yeah.
Is this a great spot for them to spawn kind of area?
What kind of current is it? Can you actually see it when you're out there?
Yeah. Oh, it's coming down. It's waterfalls. And they're fair size. There's a lot of water movement that happens.
Could you see actual eddies coming off those islands and whatnot?
Yes. Especially up and around here where
where it's tight. Okay.
Where it's tight and the water's coming out all through here, you'll get eddies.
Wow. Yeah, that looks killer.
First place I would start right now, speaking, I would drive upriver until you can't go up anymore and try
go
right
back
there.
down. Yeah. Because those
a dam or a lock.
That's incredible.
These are all the locks. This is where the boats are allowed to go through right here.
Sure.
So this is where the lock system is. So not so much current here. There's current on this one, but the big main source, this is actually a waterfall with rapids coming down.
Oh my gosh.
All the way here and dumps into this hole. They got a super deep hole right here. So this is where the walleye would spawn.
Right.
The majority of them anyways would spawn in this area. So and then you've got stuff like this where you kind of get humps.
Sure.
Out in the middle where the current's blowing through here. Not blowing through, but it's moving through.
But that first point below that dam is, oh my gosh, that looks so cool. All that little, there's probably some muskies in there.
Oh, we're going to have to get you guys up to Ontario then. So
oh my gosh.
For all of us, for all of our Ontario anglers, I mean, you look for current, like the guys said, obviously. And then north facing, North Shore, cabbage, places where cabbage is going to grow, which in our Kawartha system, typically is from 6 to 9 feet of water is where you get the majority of cabbage growing up here. Probably the same for you guys.
Yep.
And it's the first weed that really grows and is green, creating oxygen. And that's why the walleye lay back in it. And that's why we catch so many muskies in it here while walleye fishing. So, all right, let's get back
to muskie go hand in hand.
Yeah, yes, they do. Where you find the dinner is where you find the diner. That's what Alex Davis taught me.
That's a good one.
There you go.
All right, so let's get back to a couple questions. We've already done an hour, guys, so let's do another 10 minutes or so.
Right on.
Through the questions. Obviously, we appreciate your time. For everybody watching, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to keep going here for a bit, but this is another version of Shimano School where we're talking muskie with today's angler guys. We got Lee and Robbie here with us, and we're answering as many questions as we can. Guys, if we can't get to them, hopefully we'll be able to trickle through. If you guys can take a look at the question list, maybe if there's something we didn't touch on, you guys could have a chance to take a look at it. If we haven't answered your question, it's probably because it got answered somewhere in this talk, because we have talked about a lot of stuff. So feel free to go back and watch this video again. And again, share it with your buddies. Tag your buddy in the comment section. Let them watch this thing. So let's get back to this. Moon phases. Darian's asking, how do you interpret moon phases? Moon set, moon rise, new moon, half moon?
I like new moon. I know I'm bad at it sometimes. If I'm going to be out on the water, like yesterday, we were on a spot where we raised fish earlier, and was there at moonset. Never saw a fish. It's definitely not the end all be all, but it's something to pay attention to. I think the biggest thing is it keeps you a little more confident, throughout the day, looking at these, peak feeding periods, which do happen, but some days, that's not the case. I think weather's definitely plays more of a role.
Yeah, definitely weather. But the moon is a thing. There's no question. 6 of the 8 55-inch class fish I've had in the boat, whoever's had in the boat, have happened within 15 minutes of a moon rise or set. So that's a crazy number. That
is wild. What, that day on Mille Lacs where I got my big one, Lee? We were 10 minutes off of it, and there's 3 different so there's mine, and then 2 others that were caught at that same period, both 54.5 by 27.
All 3 of them were 54.5, 27.
At that moon. I don't know if it was moonrise or a moonset, but that's something
legit
crazy.
Fish. I mean, 50-pound class animals.
Yeah. So I would say the fall period is definitely killer for, you should be on a good spot at that time.
Well, and this answer is kind of like Matt's question. So Darian, hopefully it helps you. It's kind of a similar answer to what you would get for Matt here. He's asking in a river system, majors and minors, moon and water temp. So obviously, weather being the biggest factor for you guys.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people, it's like, you just go when you have time to go fishing, and you're going to deal with whatever conditions put in front of you.
Yep.
And, I'm a big believer in barometric pressure. I have it on my watch.
Yeah.
I believe if you can predict that falling barometric pressure, it's going to trigger a feeding window somewhere in that time when the front's coming in.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's the most predictable that you could probably get, that, you could see it coming.
Right.
It's coming at you, and they're going to feed up sooner or later.
Right.
Robbie, what's your favorite barometer?
barometer, man. Well, we had that 12 fish day when it was like 30.07, so it wasn't even below 30. When it gets really low, it seemed to struggle then. I don't know why. I mean, it's supposedly in the books they say, you know, it's supposed to be good, but I don't know. I like that 30 range, like steady.
Yeah, you guys ever smack them when it's super high? Like, what's a super high number? See, for us, I think it's we go on a different scale than you guys do, right? So, what's super high for you guys?
What, 30.2?
30.2, and for us, it's probably around that 1020. So 1010 or 1020, somewhere around there. We're 1019 right now. It's been, you know, but it's kind of low right now because we had rain today. That's kind of like the indicative. Right. You're going to get into that low. I've seen it come from, you know, 1030, so 1030, and then you just see it start like a 6-hour slide.
Sure.
Where you know rain is coming. Right. So for you guys, 35 is high and then 30 is kind of low. Is that the idea?
Yeah, 30.3. It's a 0.3. It goes down to like 29. What, 6 is pretty dang low. Would you say, Lee?
Yeah, basically, low 29s under severe storms.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's definitely something to pay attention to. But if you can go fishing, go fishing.
That's what I say. I don't worry about it. I mean, other than, you know, being in boating trouble with winds.
Sure.
You know, don't get yourself into a situation where you're going to be in danger.
Yep.
But if you got time, you go. I don't care about what the weather's doing. You got to figure out how to make them bite in all conditions.
Yep.
Some of the biggest fish we've ever caught have been in the middle of the day when the heat of the day arrives, whichever time of year it is. The other day when Robbie and I were out, we caught one muskie, about a 42-incher or so, maybe 43. And it was right when it was like hot out. It was the hottest point of the day. You think it would be at sunset, but the fishing got really quiet as that water temp started to cool into the evening. So,
especially this time of year, I would say major is that heat of the day. Temp. Also, like big water systems, you know, northern fish for sure.
It's funny, the nice thing about the big water systems is you get that variance in water temperature throughout the lake, and it kind of moves around on you. So a wind shift can bring cold water to an area that was otherwise hot the day before. So
that is interesting.
Green Bay.
Green Bay, that's a good one because you can get an upwelling. You can get an upwelling of 50-degree water roll into a bay that's 70 the day before.
Right.
We get it on Lake Ontario. We get it everywhere.
Yeah.
All right. So here's one for my boy Moose. He's saying he was jigging Bondi baits in 30 to 50 feet of water, seeing them on live, and he said it was amazing. But his question is, do you guys ignore deep water and leave them alone? Or what do you do?
Crazy.
Anything over 30 feet down, we find that they struggle.
Yeah, because when we're trolling in the fall, I mean, we're never below, 22, 21 at the farthest.
Like that one we got that kind of struggled to go back on Mille Lacs was
25.
Bait was 27, 28 down.
Sure. And that was, definitely worrisome.
I think that's a good draw. Like our smallmouth experience is the same thing.
Yeah.
Now, have you guys done any research with fizzing?
Research, yes. I don't know. Kind of up in the air on that.
I think burping is
Can you burp? You can burp a muskie?
We had that one burp, right? From what I remember.
Yeah.
We were rubbing its belly and it finally gave a nice little, bubbles came out and she finally went down.
Yeah. And for those who don't understand what's going on, it's basically when you drag a fish out of deep water, you're dealing with atmospheres of pressure. Scuba divers would know this thing. You never hold your breath when you're coming down from below 30 feet of water because the air in your lungs will just expand and double as you come to the surface. And the same thing happens to the fish when they're fought up quickly. Their air swim bladder expands, and the harmful part being the amount of pressure it pushes on their organs, their vital organs, but more so the inability to swim down to the bottom because they're bellied up because all that air is in their belly and they're actually upside down, which isn't very good for them. So smallmouth guys, but musky guys, you're saying you can burp them once in a while?
Yeah,
I've definitely had that work. But the colder it seems the water gets, the more they struggle with it, where they cannot release their swim bladder when it gets that cold. I don't know if it's because, they're the same temp as the water and they can't make it work as well.
Much,
I'm not sure.
Interesting.
I wonder more so, even if it's that there's more equalness in the temperature of the water as it goes down, especially late in the fall, where you get that the flip. And, you know, the water temperatures are closer to having that than that 10-foot thermocline that traditionally happens in summertime.
Right. Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah, I wonder. I've seen some posts about like those clips like that people use for, you know, deep sea fishing. I don't know if you've ever experienced that with smallmouth.
Actually, I've seen them work on snapper, and they're actually
pretty effective.
Phenomenal. They can set them a dial on them to depth.
And when they hit that pressure,
basically a boga. It's a boga that you put in their mouth. They add a bunch of weights to it. They drop it down on a line. They bring the fish down. And I've seen the videos. I think I have copies of the videos of the bladders distended out their mouth of a red snapper in the Gulf, and the belly extended, and you watch it physically go back in their mouth.
Wow.
The belly contract. It gets to depth. The clip opens, and then the fish just swims away normally. I think it's called, is it release sense? I think it might be release sense.
Huh.
That's wild.
I know it's something, you know, maybe if you are doing that, just having the boat just in case, you know. Maybe it is fine.
Yeah, it looks like a balloon coming out their mouth. Not the muskies. I haven't seen that with muskies.
No, I should buy one of those for ice fishing crappies, you know.
Yeah, well, crappie especially, you get them with the big bug eyes out their head when you catch them in 50 feet of water suspended.
Because then you could use the live scope and actually see if they actually swim by or swim off and whatnot. So,
or they just float up on another section of the ice.
Exactly. Yeah, see if it works or not. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, so you're using live scope for ice
fishing? I'm probably in a couple weeks or a couple days, we might test her out and see what we can do with that thing. I don't know. I'm still on the application.
I don't think it's the answer for everything.
No.
I still think you have to be able to recognize patterns. You still have to be able to read the water. You still have to be able to make the cast and work the lure. So it's
interesting.
There's still someone involved in the process.
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
It's not fully automatic.
For sure. Got to make the fish bite somehow. But
all right, so let's end with this one, guys. John Payton's question. Nice fish in his hands there. If you had one tip for entry-level people, what would it be? You're both going to answer this. So let's start with you, Lee.
Don't get caught up with having hundreds of lures, 10 rods and reels, whatever. Get a couple of rod and reel setups. Get
release
10 to 20 baits tops, and learn to use those baits. And don't worry about color. That's the last thing you got to think about. And just keep fishing, time on the water. You just gotta have experience. That's what it comes down to. But yeah, just don't get caught into buying so much gear, because you don't need that much. And here, I sell musky lures, so I want you to buy gear. But it's just not, just start out and just be sane about it. I know it's fun and you want to buy all these colors and it's exciting, but just curb your appetite a little bit.
Mm-hmm. All right. And Robbie, what's your advice? One tip for someone entry level.
I would say, especially like in your local waters, get into a musky club like Muskie's Inc. or whatever, get out with some guys that know what they're doing. They can show you the ropes. That's probably the biggest thing, is getting out with people that are experienced. What's so cool about the musky world is, you mess Facebook, Instagram, you get a hold of some guys that are, local fishermen. They love taking, younger people out, new people out, because one of the biggest rushes as like a fishing guide is seeing a new person catch a muskie. There's nothing better in the world. It's definitely cooler than, you're personally catching one, watching someone else catch it. So I would say that's a good way to go about it. You can learn everything from them. Another big thing is just, if that's not an option, just book a guide and just really soak in all the information that day, and go from there. It's definitely worth the money. It's better than buying, a bunch of different bait colors. Just getting that hands-on experience.
I agree. And I got one more, guys. I think we missed on it, and I should have kept on top of it. When we were talking about reels and rods there, this is a good one. John, thank you, because I probably would have missed this. You guys covered action and power. Rod lengths, what do you guys recommend? From 7 foot all the way up to 9.5 feet, I'm seeing rods now.
Right. 10.5 feet.
10.5 feet. So what do you guys recommend when it comes to power, action, length of rods for muskie?
9 foot extra heavy will get you covered most lure weights from, low
Regular
1 ounce
cut,
range to 8 ounce, 7, 6, 8 ounce or so.
9 foot is my comfort. I 9.6 is a little too weird for me. Well, maybe, I don't know. I just love the 9 foot.
It's all relative to a person's height though as well, right, Robbie?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I know
I'm
for
short.
guys, I throw 7'11s and 7'6s
Sure.
90% of the time, but most people like 6'8s to 7 footers.
Yep. But yeah, you're a taller person.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, again, folks, take your height into mind when you're doing this, because you're not going to want to be 6'5" with a 6'6" rod,
right?
Because forget figure eighting,
right?
Right. The taller you
doubt.
are, the longer the rod should be, and I think power and action being super important in this case. You're saying extra heavy, fast action. Is that what you guys typically rely on?
Yeah.
Or number 9 bucktails. Maybe you can get away with 10s on that. You could throw a single 8s, double 8s on them as well. But if that's the first musky rod you're going to get, definitely, then you can go from there.
With musky rods, it's not the same scale of powers that we go through in the bass world.
Right.
I mean, the power, we go from ultralight to extra heavy.
Yep.
Are you guys start at medium heavy and then go up to like XXX heavy or somewhere around there?
Yeah, basically, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And for those of you who power and action are the two biggest confused things probably in fishing, I hear people, I've even seen show hosts talk about action as power and power as action. They say I'm using a moderate fast power rod that's got medium heavy action, and I'm like, well, that was backwards.
Right.
So power is actually the force it takes to move an object on a rod. So the heavier the bait, the bigger the fish, the heavier the power you need.
Yep.
And then action is the taper of the rod. The
Right.
faster the action, the more the tip bends. The slower the action, the more parabolic the rod tends to be. So for everybody who's looking for rods, understand that the two are very separate. And in the musky world, it seems as though heavy, extra heavy, and double X heavy may be the
3 basically all you
avenue
need.
rod.
Yep. It's basically all you need is 3 rods. That'll cover all your bases.
Yeah,
Awesome.
as far
All
as
right,
the
guys,
bend
this was great. I mean, I had a great time. I learned a lot from you guys. I appreciate your time as always. Hopefully we can do this again in the short.
Yeah, we'll have to do like a summertime one, when things really get rolling, like maybe do an August one and go into the fall when that gets rolling. Make it, more timely. Good. Yeah.
We're going to hold you to it. We're going to hold you to
all right, we're good for it.
You know how to get a hold of us.
Yeah, we do. We know how to get a hold of you for sure. I hope you guys listen. I hope you guys both have a great season. Folks, again, thank you for joining us for another Shimano School. This one was obviously with Today's Angler. Go check them out on YouTube. You can subscribe to their channel. They got a ton of great videos on their YouTube channel explaining how to work baits. And if you're a musky angler looking to get a little bit extra out of your next trip, check them out. Tons of resources on their channel. Again, Lee and Robbie, thanks so much for your time, guys. I appreciate it. Again, thanks for everybody who tuned in. I hope you all have a safe and great weekend, and hope you all catch a 50-incher in the coming weeks.
Heck yeah.
Me too. Thank you.